Hello, good people. Hello, good people. Should be my jingle. What do you think? Let me know. So, today I'm going to talk about a topic that is very close to my young heart, and it will just introduce you to a lot of the aspects of me that just make sense now, right? So, let's bless me. Let's go back to 2009. I am in my dorm room. It's like 8 p.m. and I am a residence assistant, although we called them community assistants. And I am sitting in my room, and one of my residents comes in and is like, he's like, how you doing? You know, we're talking, whatever, we're just talking about stuff. I'm sure I'm probably playing music or something like that, right? And he goes, have you ever heard of K-pop? And at this point, the most exposure I'd had to Korean culture was none. My plan originally when I went into college was to study art therapy, and my freshman year I got to go to Japan for a month, and that sort of exposed me to Japanese culture, and then I came back and started studying Japanese, but I didn't know much about Korea at all. And so I was just like, no, like, what's K-pop? Like, I have no idea. And he was like, look up SuperJunior, sorry. And I was like, okay. And I like look it up, and I'm just like, what is all of this? What is happening? And it's like catchy, and I'm like, and I love music. I grew up on music. I grew up on all types of music. My dad is a music fanatic. Like, I love music. So I'm not opposed to listening to new music, but I see this and it's just like nothing I've ever seen. And like, I grew up, I loved like, you know, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and stuff like that. But yeah, again, never had seen anything like this, right? It's like 15 guys dancing in sync, dancing, and to this like really catchy chorus, right? And I'm like, what is this? He's like, okay, now look up Girls' Generation, SNSD, Shonoshide. I said that wrong. G. And I look it up, and it's like, there were 10 of them at that point, I think. And it's them dancing to a catchy chorus, and it's like, G, 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 no, oh yeah. And I'm like, I am obsessed. But it took literally like 2 songs. And then we just keep going. And I keep, you know, it's on YouTube at this point because there's no K-pop on iTunes. If you all are coming up in K-pop right now, you are so lucky. You get it on iTunes, you get it on Spotify, you get it on all the platforms, Tidal, all those different things. Back in the day, aka 2009, like 11 years ago, you had to search and scour YouTube and then maybe find a download link that went to iTunes. But like, it was just an MP3 file that you downloaded and it went into your iTunes. So, very lucky these days. Anyways, next thing I know, it's like 3 a.m. and I have gone down this rabbit hole of K-pop. And what had happened was, after G, I think I kept watching a couple of Girls' Generation songs, a couple of SuperJunior, but then this song called Lies by a group called Big Bang popped up. And that, my friends, my good people, is when I became a VIP. And you're probably like, what the heck is a VIP? Or if you know, you know what a VIP is. So yes, of course, VIP tends to stand for very important person. But in K-pop, each group has a fan club, and they name their fan club pretty early on in their career, in their tenure. So Big Bang chose VIP. And that's, when you become a fan of that group, you join the fandom. You usually join like the fan club online, and you sign up for like the fan cafe, where like sometimes the members will like jump in and say hi and like all these different things. There's just all these different levels. I didn't go that far, but my group that I was like really like in love with was Big Bang. And my favorite member was or is, I guess, T.O.P. So there were 5 members, there are now 4. It's a whole nother story. But yeah, I just grew to love Big Bang. And I don't know what it was. Again, from like the second that I saw SuperJunior and Girls' Generation, I was just like hooked. And the next day I wake up and I'm still obsessed, and I'm like listening to all these songs now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's all I can listen to. And then you start to, you know, back in the day you used to see one video, of course it's the same thing nowadays, but you see one video and then it's like, here's another video and here's another video. So I kept watching and I got into like Sunset Glow and all these different things. And at the time, Big Bang was in the middle of promotions. So when a group is in the middle of promotions, that means they've had a debut or they've had a comeback, right? And so at this point, Big Bang was in a comeback phase, and so they were performing on the music shows. There's so many music shows. There's like 3 main ones, like Music Bank, and I forget the others, but there's 3 main shows, and then like other shows where groups get to do their song and the dance that goes with it. There's always a dance that goes with it, and choreography is like a really big deal, and like the choreography will get really catchy. Basically like how choreography gets really catchy on TikTok nowadays. Like that was on music shows and things like that for Kpop back in the days. So I just couldn't stop watching all these videos. I was so obsessed with all of the groups at this point, and I started learning about even more groups, and my passion just grew. I think, oh my gosh, back in the day, I loved Big Bang, I loved M-Black, I loved, of course, Super Junior, Girls' Generation, Brown Eyed Girls. I liked a little bit of 4 Minute, To Anyone. There's also labels. So you have to understand there's multiple labels in K-pop. And I encourage you to go into your own K-pop rabbit hole. Just look up a song and it'll just take you on the path. But the labels, there's like, of course, 3 big conglomerate labels. Although that's also changed. So much has changed over the past 11 years with K-pop. I can't even keep up anymore. But Big Bang, for example, Big Bang To Anyone were under YG. So YG was the name of the CEO, and he started a company. It's now a different CEO, but it was named after him. There's JYP, which is named after the CEO. And then there's SM, which is also sort of named after the CEO. So usually their names are the companies, but they have big companies. And the way you enter a company is you become a trainee, and, you know, maybe they've seen like one of your videos on YouTube or a cover if you do a cover of a song, or they spot you in the street, either in Korea, or now they've expanded their auditions to be global. So they might see you in New York, they might see you in who knows where, and they'll be like, hey, do you want to come audition for our company? And you'll be like, yeah. And usually, okay, K-pop is for, I mean, a younger demographic, I would say preteen to teenager, although you can, like, a little bit through college. Now, of course, I found out about it while I was in college, so I was a little bit already aged out, but I think music is music, and if you like it, you like it, and it doesn't matter what age you are. So usually when you get recruited to join a K-pop company, you're on the younger side, probably like 13, 14. And then you train for like 2-3 years, maybe longer, depending on the company. And then they'll form a group around you, or you'll debut as a solo artist, but most of the times you debut in a group. And then from there, things just sort of take off. Now, not every group blows up. There's a lot of underdogs. There's a lot of smaller groups that maybe weren't as popular, you know, and didn't hit as big. I don't know. Some of the ones that I liked while I was really into B1A4, BAP, oh gosh, so many. Dalmatian, Realize. Well, the song is called Realize, but realize, always be my baby. That is my jam to this day. It is like the smoothest R&B track. So good. And I think that's another thing that people think about when they think about K-pop. They're like, oh, they're just biting off of American pop. And it's just that. I would argue that it's not. It is its own genre of pop. Although, yes, of course, there are similarities, right? Like, and nowadays, a lot of producers are from America, actually. So I wouldn't argue that it's like biting off of American pop. I think it's definitely its own original sort of genre, but it definitely is influenced by, obviously, other genres and things like that. And there's no doubt that like Black culture, Black music, hip hop, like if you look at any of the videos, all of the idols are always like, oh yeah, I love Michael Jackson and I love like all these different people that have inspired me and artists from America. So if they try to deny it, they're lying. And then there's a whole nother conversation about blackface and sort of appropriation. And actually, I wrote my thesis on, not related to K-pop, but sort of on related to music. I wrote it on Japanese hip-hop and if it was authentic. And actually, now that I look back, I could have also done Korean hip-hop because I also got really into Korean hip-hop after I got in. K-hip-hop is its own thing. But yeah, I got into K-hip-hop artists and K-R&B. Gosh, it really just, it changed my life. And I know I said that in the title, but what I mean is it also came to me at a time when I was rethinking my major. So as I said originally, I wanted to go in for art therapy. And after I went to Japan, I was like, I really love languages, but the language classes were at the same time as my art classes. And so I had to make a choice. And I decided that languages was going to be my choice. And I sort of gave up art, which was a really weird thing to do. I had done art my whole life. I'd also studied Spanish my whole life. And so to jump from Spanish to Asiatic languages was a really interesting sort of jump. But, you know, the more that I got into K-pop and K-hip-hop and K-R&B, the more that I wanted to learn the language and learn the culture. And so I started studying Korean sort of on my own. And my Korean is still awful. I can read, write, and understand a lot, but I need to work on my speaking. I keep getting caught up, and then I focused a lot on my Japanese. So my Spanish, I entered at the highest level in my university. And so I had, by the time I got to sophomore year, I'd already gotten out of those classes, and so I just did independent study for the rest of my time there. Japanese, I started at the base level, took it in the summers at UCLA, and all those different things. And then Chinese, I started studying in my senior year because I had run out of Japanese classes. All of that to say is that while I was doing all of that, on the side, I was doing Korean because unfortunately my university didn't offer Korean. But watching music videos, listening to the songs, watching dramas, that all really helped with the language. So if you're interested in learning Korean, of course, immerse yourself as much as possible in the language. And then when I lived in Japan, I went to Korea twice, and it was really great. I loved each time. So again, getting introduced to Korean culture, K-pop, in sophomore year changed like the whole course of my college career. And actually I ended up meeting a lot more friends from Korea, and now I have like one of my best friends is from Korea. She's getting married soon. But she's one of my best friends. We've been in touch for all these years because of my connection to Korean culture, because of being introduced to K-pop. So shout out to Tien, who's the one who introduced me to K-pop. Because you probably don't know this, although sometimes I may tell you this, but changed my life. Like completely changed like the course of my life and the course of my career and what I wanted to do. So of course, me being me at the time in 2009, again, like nowadays you can turn on B96 and you will hear BTS, right? Like that is the thing. Also, I liked BTS. I'm not going to say this in that way. I liked BTS when they first came out. After they first came out though, right around when they came out was when I sort of fell out of K-pop a little bit. I sort of just stopped. It was hard to keep up with all the groups. Like it was the other night, I was looking at NCT and like my brain does not compute that whole concept, even though it's very similar to what SuperJunior was and all the other groups. But like this day, like nowadays, I'm just like, you know what, if I like their music, I like their music. I don't know which group they are. I don't know who's a member of the group, but I like the music. So NCT 127, I want to say. Who's the one that made Superhuman? I think it's NCT 127. Love that song. And then I know there's Wavy, which is the Chinese group from NCT. All these different things. Anyways, all of that is to say, back in the day, you couldn't just turn on B96 here in Chicago or any radio station and hear any K-pop. And so I was determined to get K-pop on the radio. It became like this thing that I really wanted to do. And this is the notebook of all of my brilliant ideas about how I was going to get K-pop on the radio. I need you all to I need you all to, I'm gonna laugh. Bear with me because we're about to go down some interesting paths here. Let's see, where should we start? Oh man, one of my goals, ethnomusicology is a thing, right? So studying that. I wanted Power 106 to have an international hour because music is music, and I wanted them to phase it in and talk about what the song is about and invite international artists for the hour. Now, of course, nowadays, Jay Park, because he's signed to Rock Nation, has been on Power 106, and he's been on The Breakfast Club, and he's been on Sway in the Morning, and all these different things. So when you put it out there, it happens, right? Oh man, I had all of these, I had a whole Tumblr that was dedicated to, I ended up calling myself like the Connector, but I spell it differently. And I had this whole Tumblr that was dedicated to like these collaborations that I thought needed to happen, because at the time it seemed like the only way to really get K-pop into the US was to have K-pop artists collaborating with US artists. They did collaborate, so some people who've collaborated are Seven and Lil' Kim, Kanye West and JYJ. There have been a couple of other ones, I'm sure, that Jason Derulo and Lay from EXO. All these different collaborations have happened. But what I learned very quickly was that it doesn't guarantee that they will blow up big here. And actually it becomes more so Americans aren't paying attention. At that time, they weren't paying attention to the fact that Jason Derulo was on the song. They were just like, that guy is from Korea or China. I don't understand what's going on. I'm not really into this. So they didn't really listen to it as, I don't think it blew up as big as they did. I would actually argue that BTS blew up the way they did. One, because of course, yes, like all of these other groups have laid the groundwork for them. They started, you know, there was KCON started to happen. All these things started to happen sort of like 2014, 2015, 2016, right when they were getting big in Korea. But I would say that BTS, one of the beautiful things about them is that they've remained true to themselves, and they have remained true to their music, and they haven't compromised for anyone. And that is the real key. They didn't change any of their songs from Korean, right? They didn't make like a whole bunch of English songs right away. They made sure that people understood that they were Korean and that this was a Korean language album and all these different things. And then once they got everybody hooked in, much like how I got hooked into SuperJunior, then they started to do more of the other stuff, right? So I think that's one of the things that's definitely changed. And I think the internet helped with that. You know, social media really grew. And so people were able to find the music easier. And then, yeah, once, of course, Americans figured out that K-pop was the next big wave, the Hallyu wave is what it's called also. That's the whole wave of like soft power related to Korean culture. That definitely was part of it. Oh man, I had pros: cultural sharing, encouraging people to explore the world. Cons: haters, no one cares. People are upset they can't understand it. Ugh, I was really Taegun. Wow, this is a really big throwback. Boa. I literally have the address for YG Entertainment typed out right here and people to contact. I was going to contact Russell Simmons. Funny story, I did actually connect with a lot of people through trying to pursue this. I won't name names yet because hopefully they'll join me on this channel. But it definitely, again, it changed my life. I was able to meet and talk to producers, and I met so many friends. That's the biggest thing. Like, you make so many friends through K-pop. And of course, being a black girl that's into K-pop, I met so many other black girls that are into K-pop, and we all just like bonded over our love of K-pop. And like my whole Twitter is basically like that. And like, it's just a really amazing community that I really cherish all the time. So yeah, I had this whole idea. Oh man, this is throwing it back. We're going back. Oh man, let's see. What else did I have in here? You know, I had some other ideas. I also use this as like a journal. I had a whole, like I drew out like a storyboard for magazines of how they would be able to, Vibe magazine. I was like, they could do a whole international issue. I looked at like who controls distribution, all these different things. I was really set on getting K-pop to play here. And it worked. I didn't do it. It wasn't me. But nowadays, it's not that hard to download music and things like that. So I would say that the idea of it wasn't that far off, and that this is another reminder to do the thing when you get the idea. If you haven't seen my other video, do the thing, because someone else is already probably doing it, and if not, you can start doing it. Let's see, besides trying to get K-pop on the radio, of course, I went to concerts. I didn't go to a lot of concerts, and I didn't go to any fan meetings. While I lived in Japan, though, I got to meet a lot of artists, of course, because they were there, either visiting or performing. Got to meet Illionaire Crew, which was, they just disbanded actually. It was made up of The Quiet, Doki, Benzino. They're K-hip-hop. Got to meet them in Tokyo. Benzino was super nice. All of them were super nice. But yeah, because it's so niche and stuff like that, sometimes when you meet the right people, you get to meet the artists as well. And I would say that the world is really small. You never know who knows who. That's another reason why it's just really important to always like think about like who's around you and things like that. If you have a goal or if you have a dream, like you probably have someone in your network who can help you achieve that goal. Or if you don't, you can find the right people. But yeah, I went to concerts. I went to the Big Bang concert in Tokyo. And I think I have all the tickets in here, so we'll go through that. So this is what's called a light stick. This is what you use at concerts. Mine doesn't light up anymore. I should change the batteries, but I'm not gonna do that right now. And it used to have little gemstones on here, which I have them. Yes, I do. They all fell off. So it looks like that. It kind of lights up. Things like that. But yeah, light sticks, really big deal. The color is a really big deal. And all of the fans have them, and you wave them around at the concerts, and you wave them around at music shows, and you do it on the beat, and they call out their names. I never got, again, that into it, but I did buy a light stick at one of the concerts. I went with a couple of friends that they still live in Japan. They're singers now. And yeah, we had a good time. Let's see. I went to the G-Dragon One of a Kind tour. This was in 2013, April 20th. It was a Saturday. That was fun. It was sponsored by Asiana Airlines and Lawson. And let's see, what else did I go to? I went to Delight, aka Taesung, who is a member of Big Bang. Also Asiana Airlines and Lawson. There's something there. This was also in 2013. That was really fun. Let's see. Of course, the Big Bang Japan Dome tour. This was the one where I think I got the light stick. That was fun. I'm glad I kept these. I keep a lot of my concert tickets in general, just from any show I've been to, but not specifically for this, but just in general. I even kept the receipt. Lawson was also my favorite konbini in Japan. You could buy tickets there, you could pay your bills there, you could do anything at any of the konbinis, you can do that. But Lawson, in my opinion, had the best snacks, and the best vibe, and the best point card system. That was the best thing about Lawson. Let's see, I have one more ticket in here. This isn't all the concerts I went to, but it's one more ticket. This is the G-Dragon World Tour here in Chicago, when he came to Chicago. That was a lot of fun too. So that was the other thing back in the day when I started going to concerts. Oh my gosh, they would literally only go to LA and New York. They'd be like, World Tour, LA, New York, we're back. And I'm like, those are not World Tour cities. You need to come to the Midwest. And now they go to they go to Texas. They go to all of the Midwest states. Like they go, well, not all of them, but definitely Chicago they hit up. They hit up like all the major cities now, which is really nice of them. I'm really glad that it finally caught on and they realized that they could meet a lot of people if they came to all these different places. One of the ones I regret not going to, I was going to go. Oh gosh, I get really emotional when I think about it. I was going to go to a SHINee concert fan meet here in Chicago. It's out in the suburbs, but close enough to Chicago. But it was Mother's Day, and I love my mother. So I decided, and my mother doesn't love K-pop, and I didn't want to sort of take her with me on that day, but I really wish I had gone because that would have been my first time to see SHINee all together. SHINee is a group that is near and dear to my heart. Like I would say like Big Bang and SHINee are on this level. And their fan group is called Showl. But yeah, they came to Chicago. So if you get the chance to go see your favorite group, or any artist really, but in general your favorite groups, go see them when you can. But yeah, I just really loved going to the concerts. They're all really fun. I've gotten to meet some of my idols. Well, not my idols, but the idols. They're called Kpop idols. I've gotten to meet some of them. Again, they were nice, and things like that. But yeah, it just really changed everything that I thought I knew about the world. It opened up my world, opened up my eyes to learn more about other cultures, and I'm forever grateful for learning about it and things like that. So that is all for this video. I'll probably do another one. I should do another in-depth video about my favorite Big Bang songs. Let me know if you want to hear more. But yeah.